Welcome to my Scarlet Enclave boss guide series for Season of Discovery, Reborn Council. This encounter has 3 bosses, each with their own separate health pool. Starting things off, positioning is very crucial here, as if any of the bosses are within 10 yards of one another, they will give each other a significant buff. Vishas will increase their attack speed, Herod will reduce their damage taken, and Doan will heal them. Ranged and caster DPS are going to be very strong in this fight since they'll be able to hit multiple targets at once, whereas your melee DPS are going to struggle since they can only hit one boss at a time. Let's go ahead and talk about each of the boss's abilities and how to deal with them. Starting things off with Doan, as they're the main focal point for this fight. Doan does not need a tank, as they'll continue to teleport throughout the room toward other players. When he teleports to you or your group, you should reposition so you don't get hit with Blast Wave. This ability will knock players back. Especially for my tanks, you do not want to get knocked into one of the other bosses, and most importantly, you do not want Doan to heal them. Even though Doan doesn't need a tank, they will continue to hit the highest player on threat with fireballs. I recommend this player being a boomkin. Throughout the fight, they will also cast Imbued Assault and Slow. You need to dispel these 2 debuffs as soon as possible. This is crucial to your survivability and your DPS. And then periodically, they will cast Molten Basin. This will fill the bottom half of the room with lava. For obvious reasons, you must avoid this. For Vishas, you need to set up a kick rotation to interrupt peeled secrets. If this ability ever goes off, it's almost a guaranteed raid wipe. So set up a kick rotation between 2 players and have a 3rd player as backup in case something goes wrong. Periodically, they will teleport to a random player and cast Garrote. This player just needs to get healed to 90% or above to have this debuff removed. Lastly, for Vishas, the tank will get hit with Rend Flesh. This is a stacking debuff you must remove at 5 stacks. Paladins can bubble this off, and rogues have so much avoidance that they'll naturally just dodge the ability and have the debuff fall off throughout the fight. For my other tanks, you will need to have a 3rd tank taunt off you to remove the debuff stacks. You can do this with a Feral Druid or a Fury Warrior. You just need to have them tank the boss for 1 minute while your main tank's debuff falls off. For Herod, they have an AoE whirlwind called Blades of Light. Everyone in the raid needs to avoid this. Your tank can eat this just fine, as long as they have a healer with them. Throughout the fight, they will also cast Divine Avatar, a mini enrage in which you need to pop a defensive cooldown. During this ability, they will also cast Divine Strike, placing yellow circles on a player's location, dealing damage shortly after. All melee must avoid this. They will also use a strong frontal with a healing reduction debuff called Radiant Divide. Set up a defensive cooldown rotation to deal with both of these abilities. As for the tank on Herod, make sure that you're moving out of the red spirals on the ground as well as the yellow circles. Now let's tie all that information together and talk about raid positioning as well as the strategy for this fight. Before the pull, pop a greater fire protection potion. The safe spot will be right here where your melee DPS are standing, and this is where you'll tank Vishas. This will avoid the 2 fire tornadoes that will go around the room. Your casters will spread evenly around the room so that 1 or 2 healers are on both sides. And make sure the bosses are never within 10 yards of each other. Melee DPS will focus on Vishas and Herod, and caster DPS will focus on Doan and Herod. If you're a multi-dot class, you should be trying to hit all 3 at once. When safe, Shadow Priest should stand in the center of the room so they can mind flay Doan and Herod. For my tanks, stay between the boss and the wall to avoid being knocked into the center of the room. If Doan teleports near your location, move the boss away and wait for Doan to teleport again before returning. For my DPS and healers, make sure you're dispelling the slow and imbued assault debuffs. Melee, avoid standing in the Divine Strike ability. To help avoid this, have all of your melee stack on the left foot of the boss, and then when this is about to go out, move to the right foot of the boss. Casters and healers should look to be eating this ability due to their positioning. This will be a significant DPS increase, and will also help healing your tank on Herod, since Herod will be soft enraged from Divine Avatar. Healers, make sure you're healing the target affected with Garrote, and last but not least, make sure your DPS are kicking peeled secrets. Assign 2 melee DPS to kick this at all times, and have a 3rd player as backup in case something goes wrong. Again, to reiterate, if this ability goes off, it's almost always going to be a raid wipe. Other than that, there is a 7-minute enrage timer, so try to keep debuffs on all 3 bosses, as this will be a significant DPS increase. And then for the last bit of information, each boss that dies will do a new ability. Doan will continue to cast Molten Basin, making the lava permanent. Herod will continue to cast Divine Avatar, but Vishas will cast a new ability called Veil of Darkness. This is a raid-wide dot that you have to move in order to remove the debuffs. So without a doubt the most difficult, you're always going to kill Vishas last. So the kill order I recommend is Doan first, Herod second, and Vishas last. By killing Doan first, you no longer have to worry about getting knocked back or the other bosses being healed. This just makes things so much easier. And then you can focus down Vishas and Herod evenly, of course killing Herod first. And that's just about it for this boss guide. I really don't know what else to add on here. This is just one of those fights that you're going to have to see a couple of times before everyone understands what their role and what they're going to be doing. There's a lot of moving parts and tons of personal responsibility here, so don't get frustrated if you're having trouble clearing this as a 20-player raid. And that's pretty much everything I got for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if this boss guide helped you out, and as always, I will see you in the next video.